morning. This is Roland from Drummond Island, here between Christmas and New Year's 2017, and we have minus 15 degrees this morning, and I'm going to be showing you how to, one of the ways to make Rouladen, a traditional European dish that I learned from my family as I was growing up. This is a view from my backyard looking out over the islands of Patagonising Bay on Drummond Island, and in the distant background you can see on the horizon the shorelines of Ontario, Canada. I'd like to mention also that I'm doing this solo, so I don't have a cameraman, and I'll have to show you and stop periodically as the thing progresses. I start off by slicing some bacon into 1/4-inch strips. Okay, once you have your bacon cut up, doesn't matter if it's a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch, but transfer it to a large frying pan and start browning it over medium heat. Next, we're going to add about 1/2 an onion. Use a mild flavored like a Vidalia. You can use shallots or any other onion that you prefer. Now you can add your onions to the bacon. You just want to get it to where the onions are clear and the bacon is at least halfway cooked. Next, we're going to quarter some dill pickles lengthwise. These are all part of the preparation of items that get rolled up into the meat rolls. Use enough pickles to put 1/4 in each of your meat rolls, Rouladen. Alright, so now I have 4 pickles chopped up, enough for 16 of the Rouladen, and I'm going to check on my onions and bacon. Stir them around a little bit. It's getting pretty close to the consistency I'm looking for. You don't necessarily have to crisp the bacon up too much or overcook things, because it's going to get cooked for a long time once it's rolled up. So let that go for a couple more minutes. Turn it down to low while we're getting the other stuff ready. So the assembly starts with a slice of meat. If you can find a butcher that'll cut up a roast for you, like a 1/4-inch thick piece, and I use wax paper to set it down on to start the work on putting things together. Okay, so in this case the meat available was a round steak type roast, and you can use any other cut of meat as long as it's fairly lean and can give you a slice that's this dimension. I've flattened out fillets and things like that before, but it's more time consuming. this works out pretty good. So our next step is to first lay out the meat and salt and pepper it pretty good. You can use ground pepper too if you like, you know. It's just a matter of getting enough coverage on the inside surface here. Salt it pretty good. Take some of your onion and bacon mix and spread it out near the base. Add a piece of a slice of your dill pickle. Tuck the ends over if you have them, and then just roll the whole thing up. I like to use wax paper because I can throw it away after I'm done, and it makes it a little bit easier to maneuver. Once you have them rolled up like this, just grab a toothpick and pin it together, and you can set it aside or transfer it right away to a frying pan where you'll brown it first. So now I have half of my 16 in a skillet here, and I'm going to start browning them on about medium heat. Things don't happen so fast when you do it on a moderate heat. In the meantime, I'm going to add some beef stock to a pot here that these will be transferred into once they're browned. Because of the number 16 of them, I'll probably want to make sure I have plenty of gravy to go with it. So this is a simple way to get a good start on it. You can use plain water too, or a bouillon cube or something of that nature, a powdered stock. It'll be modified as time goes on, but basically this will give us a start. I'm also adding 2 cans of regular beef gravy to help with the thickening, which I probably will add some cornstarch or flour to as I get near the completion of this. So now I have my first batch of Rouladen browning, and I'm heating up the stock there. Just turn these over once. Probably would help if I had a bigger frying pan, but this works okay. So we'll let those go for a while, maybe another 5-6 minutes. In the meantime, I got this stock gravy mix. But as it is with most cooking, it's not so much the accuracy of the ingredients as it is tasting and flavoring as you go along to get it exactly the way you want it. So we're not quite where we want it to be yet, but in the end it'll turn out pretty much consistent with the way it usually turns out. As you can see, this is producing a lot of liquid, which is kind of slowing down the browning process. So I'm going to pour some of this off right into the stock so we don't lose any of that good stuff coming out of the frying pan. Okay, already starting to smell pretty good. Okay, so now these are looking pretty well browned, and I'm ready to put them down in here and add my next batch to the frying pan. I added a little bit of the stock gravy to loosen up any of the flavorful stuff on the bottom here, which I'll pour into the pot with them. The stock pot will be turned down to simmer once I get the rest of them in there, and we'll probably let them cook for about an hour and a half, which really tenderizes the meat. One little note here, if the piece of meat looks like it's a little bit too small, all you can do is cover it over like that. Hit it with the flat side of the meat pounder, which makes it thinner and spread out a little bit more. And you got something you can roll up. Okay, now I'm going to brown the second batch, and I got a little bit of the bacon and onion mix. I'm just going to put this in the frying pan with it. It's all going to be adding flavor to the mix. And since the frying pan is a little bit on the dry side, I'm going to just put a little bit of our stock mix in there, and then we'll let her go until those are brown, and I'll add those to the pot. Okay, I have one final ingredient, a flavoring agent that's been used ever since I can remember by grandmothers and mother and so forth. It's this Maggi seasoning, and I put about 2 tablespoons in. It's one of those time-tested ingredients that makes everybody wonder, how'd you get it to taste so good? This is good stuff. It's a soy-based, it's essentially a soy sauce, but for some reason or other it's an imported thing from Europe, and it has a great amount of flavor. Okay, our second batch is browned and ready to go into the stock pot, and we'll turn it on low to simmer it for about an hour and a half. As you may have noticed, this is not one of your high-end cooking stoves, so I'm just going to show you, in order to get the simmer down, I had to put a diffuser underneath, and that helps the slow cooking process, just to take a look at what things are doing inside here. I have chosen to use enough liquid so that everything is completely covered pretty much in any event. You can see there some of them are floating around in there, but that'll eventually cook down, and then when I get ready to finish the gravy, I'll take the meat out of the pot and add my thickening agent. So now I've taken the Rouladen out of the pot after being cooked for about two and a half hours, and I'm going to mix my thickening agent, a quarter cup of flour and a tablespoon of cornstarch. I'll start with some cold water to stir it up. You put hot in it too soon or introduce it, it'll cook the flour and take too long to get the lumps out. Okay, while it's still simmering a little bit here, I'm just going to add this in slowly, whisking it as I go along. I think that's enough. Okay, now I'm going to put those back in the pot here and let the gravy form, and they should be ready to eat.